Welcome back to Children's Corner. Today we are still not in the Pauline's bookshop, but we are outside in the streets because of the next book that I will read for you. It's the true story of a street boy. As you walk in the streets, have you ever wondered why street children are found there in the first place? How they survive, where they sleep, what they eat? I believe that our friend today will help us have a better understanding of life in the streets. My name is Mojo. Many years ago, I lived with my parents, my brother Harry, and my sister in Rongai. My father was a drunkard, but my mother loved us very much. She used to sing to us as she worked around the house. One day, she brought home a little puppy, and the three of us decided to call him Bosco. One morning, my mother complained of a terrible pain in the head. When it had not gone away by the next day, she went to the clinic. That afternoon, when I came home from school, I saw her asleep on the bed. There were some friends of hers sitting near her, looking at her and weeping. They told me that my mother had died just before I arrived home. From that day on, I had to look after Alice and Harry, who were younger than I. I was just getting used to the new life when my father came home. He had been away for a month. He did not come alone. Standing behind him were a woman and two children. My father said, "Children, this is your new mother and your new brother and sister." Father's new wife was called Janet, and she did not like us. She did no work around the house and expected Alice, Harry, and I to do it all. She found fault with everything we did. She shouted in anger at Harry once because she did not like the firewood he had collected. When Janet's daughter, Nyukabi, laughed at him, Alice slapped her across the face and Janet hit her, and we all fought. One day, Father's liver gave way and he died. Our lives were even harder after that. I did not want to live with Janet anymore. I came to know a boy of my age called Murimi. Like me, he was lonely. Even though I knew he was a thief, I still liked him. And when he suggested we run away together, I readily agreed. Murimi and I hid on a train that was going to Nakuru. We arrived in Nakuru and looked for something to eat. Murimi told me to help him find some used milk cartons in the town's rubbish bin, which we sold for a few shillings and bought tea and bread. A gang of poorly dressed street boys came towards us. They greeted Murimi with much laughter and hand clapping, and it was obvious they knew each other well. When they moved off, I had to follow because I had nowhere else to go. I had become a street boy. One day, a few days after our arrival in Nakuru, Murimi brought me to the lake where we washed ourselves and where I first sniffed glue. Murimi took the tube of glue out of his pocket, took a sniff, and when he handed it to me, I put it to my nose and inhaled deeply. A sudden feeling of contentment came over me, but the hunger was always there. I did not like Nakuru and wanted to see Nairobi. A boy called Gichuhi wanted to come with me. He told me how to get there on the train for nothing. We went to the railway station, where he spotted a woman with a baby and a lot of luggage. He went over to her and offered to help her. She was very pleased when we brought her luggage onto the train for her. Kichuhi told me not to say anything when the conductor came looking for our tickets. "Let me do the talking," he said. When the conductor asked for our tickets, Kichuhi said, "Our mother has our tickets," pointing to the woman we had helped, who was sitting near us. The woman smiled and waved at us, and the conductor moved on. In Nairobi, I continued to sniff glue. It seemed to make life easier. I was also shown how to smoke bhang, which made me very dizzy and even in the daytime gave me nightmares. I slept in the middle of a huge roundabout, but because of the bhang, I do not know if I lived there for months or only weeks. A lot of time we slept during the day and roamed the streets at night. Some nights we enjoyed ourselves. One of our favorite games was to stand at the doors of the bars on River Road and watch the people drinking. When a customer put down his beer behind him to talk with his companions, we would rush in, grab a glass, take a quick gulp, and dash out again. Often the customer never noticed. In Loresho, we forced two small boys to give us their bicycles, and while two of us guarded them, the other two rode up and down the road. When it was my turn to guard them, the bigger of the two knocked me down and they both ran off. They had run for help, so we made ourselves scarce. We left Loresho far behind and found ourselves in Kangemi. As we walked along, a couple of the boys said that it might be a good idea to go to the center at Kabagari. I asked them what they were talking about, and that was the first time I heard of the rehabilitation center there. I decided to go there. The center turned out to be a place for people like us, street boys, who had no one to care for them. It was run by sisters, and if you obeyed the rules of the center, they gave you food, a place to sleep, and an education. The main rules were no drugs, no glue, and no smoking. I liked it there and I stayed. I had left the streets. Some of the boys at the center had been there for a long time, and although I was taller than many of them, they were stronger than me. I found this out one day when the winner of a fight with another boy offered to fight me. I agreed, and in no time at all, he had beaten me. I had been much weakened by my years on the street. During the school holidays, the boys who had no home stayed at the center to help with the maintenance. One day, during the rains, I touched some metal on the roof. It was live. I got a terrible shock, was knocked unconscious, and I found myself in hospital, surrounded by my friends. I realized then how much God loves me and that He must have a special plan for me. One day, I got an opportunity to go to Nairobi, where I had not gone since I had come to live at the center. I went to the railway station to visit the boys I had known there. When I looked under the ladder, I came face to face with Alice. I was amazed to find her there and asked her where Harry was. Then I realized it was not Alice after all. I had not met my brother and sister since the day I ran away with Murimi and decided to go to Nakuru and see how they were. When I had saved enough money, I went there by train. At my old home, there was no sign of them, nor of Bosco, my dog. Then I noticed Harry coming slowly home. I ran to him, and when he saw me, his eyes lit up, and a broad smile appeared on his face. We hugged each other. Harry told me that Alice had left home shortly after I had run away. Janet had beaten her one day because she had come home late from school. Harry hated living with Janet and her children, and when I told him where I was living, he wanted to come back to Nairobi and join me at the center. Without telling Janet, he left Nakuru, and the two of us went to the center in Nairobi. He was made welcome. In Standard 7, I became class prefect. Some of the other boys forced me to fight a friend of mine called Malaba. I did not want to fight him, but I was afraid I would lose the respect of the other boys if I did not. We hurt each other, but not too badly. I bit my tongue, and Malaba got a bleeding lip. Luckily, the bell for class went before we did any further damage to each other. In Standard 8, I began to wonder what I would do the following year. 3 of my friends had left the center and were living elsewhere. I decided to join them. One night, a mob burst into where we were sleeping. We all escaped and ran off in different directions. Later, I heard people saying that we had all been killed. I ran back to the center. One day we woke up to find that all the other buildings in Kabagare had been knocked down. The government officials told the people that they had built there illegally and that they must move away. The bulldozer continued its work. What was I to do? I knew I would have to leave Kabagare, but I had no skills and could not get a job. How was I to take care of Harry? Shortly after that, I met 2 boys who told me they were training at Boys Town in Karen. One to be a carpenter, the other to be an electrician. I told them I would love to be trained like them, and they said that all I needed was a letter from the sister at the center, and they would agree to train me at Boys Town. I am there now. One thing more I want to find my sister Alice. Whenever I see a street boy or girl, I understand their pain and suffering. It is not their choice. The kind of family and the environment that some children find themselves in force them into the streets, as it happened to my brother and myself. When you meet a street boy or girl, how do you treat him or her? A street child is a human being that needs love and respect. Like me, they can be trained so that they can become useful to themselves and to the society. I always thank God for all the people who have helped me till today, and pray the Lord to help the street children to find a home where to live and to grow. You and I also can help the street children that we meet. So next time you're walking in the streets, what will you do? How will you help a street child who is really in need of food, of clothing, even of a place to sleep? Thank you for spending this precious time with me, and I'll leave you to think about this story of a street boy.